So this week is God judges rebellion. We should know He judges rebellion. What did He do at the very first sin? We're all doomed to death, and there's a sinful world and a fallen mankind. They're out of the garden. If God judges rebellion in the beginning, He's going to judge it at the end. He doesn't change. So that's one thing. The memory verse is Deuteronomy 7:9. Morning. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God who keeps His covenants and steadfast love with those who love Him and keep His commandments to 1,000 generations. And what does Jesus say in the New Testament? If you love me, keep my commandments. Obedience is a big thing in Scripture. Morning. And rebellion also. Oh, thank you. Morning. So, as you can see from our first question, how can staring at a bronze serpent heal a snake bite?
It can't.
We're going to get to those scriptures, if y'all remember, when they're in the wilderness.
It can't by itself.
It's God said it would.
God, yeah.
Right?
Sorry.
This would have to be something supernatural, right? Okay. Numbers 16:1-2. Now, y'all forgive me of the southern pronunciation of the names that are going to come out of my mouth this morning. Morning.
It's December.
Yeah, I'm tired of this already.
Okay, chill out.
Am I early? I might be early.
No, I'm late.
Now Korah, the son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, and Dathan, and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. I just want to point out that's very detailed. It's this person who's kin to this person, who's kin to this person. You know how we do in the South?
That's how my mama talks.
This is my mama's best friend's brother's wife's son. You know, we do that. So they're giving us a specific detail. Don't ask me to map it out again, just from memory. But they rose up before Moses with a number of people of Israel, 250 chiefs of the congregation, chosen from the assembly, well-known men. Everybody would have known who these men were. They assembled themselves together against Moses. And you're thinking, why would they go against Moses? He's led them all the way out of Egypt and put up with their complaining and intervened between them and God, and had God to spare them a few times. So they rose up against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You've gone too far." Gone too far for what?
Just complaining.
Complaining. For all in the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourself above the assembly of the Lord? You're getting too high and mighty, Moses and Aaron. You're putting yourself above. When Moses heard it, he fell on his face. That's not usually what we see, is it? Somebody accuses you of something you didn't do. Do you usually fall on your face? We would most of the time probably, counter back, but Moses doesn't do that. And he said to Korah and all of his company, in the morning, the Lord will show who is his and who is holy, and will bring him near to him. The one whom he chooses, he will bring near to him. So he's not going on his own anything. He's like, okay, in the morning, the Lord's going to show you. You ain't going to listen to me. And he wouldn't. And that's how some people are. Have you ever dealt with, I'm just being honest, we have difficult people, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So when you're dealing, let's just say it's family, and you're dealing with difficult people in family, do they listen to you, or would they rather listen to somebody else? Somebody else. They're probably tired of listening to Moses. They don't want to listen to him because they're trying to call him out on stuff that he didn't do. So Moses is like, okay, listen to the Lord. The Lord's going to show you. That's the best way to deal with it. If you don't want to listen to me, just listen to the Lord. Do this, take censers. Do y'all know what a censer is? It's kind of a what?
The census people.
That's a census, not a census.
A censer. Like a censer, you might see it. It would might remind you of a little fire pit. It's kind of like a big, kind of flat kind of bowl, and they might put incense in it or whatnot to burn it. Sometimes, like in like say the Egyptian movies or something, and they would have steps going up into like a palace or something. They would have censers lined
Indiana
up
Jones.
and burn. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Indiana Jones. There you
I
go.
didn't know that that's what they were.
Yeah,
Right.
they would have
Right.
censors. So now you know what a censor is.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. Get back to watching the movie now.
So he says, take censers, Korah and all of his company, put fire in them, and put incense on them before the Lord tomorrow. And the man whom the Lord chooses shall be the Holy One. You've gone too far, sons of Levi. And Moses said to Korah, hear now, you and the sons of Levi. Is it too small a thing for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do service in the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister to him? What this is talking about is it's the Levitic line, the sons of Levi, that's going to be a specific priest, the priesthood in Israel. When they go in and they're allotted their land, like this is for the tribe of Judah, this is for the tribe of Benjamin, things like that. The Levites actually got just certain cities. They didn't get like one whole big territory because they were the priest. They had, like all priests had to come from the sons of Levi. And then when you get into David's line, Zadok, because Zadok stood with David. So after David's time, it would have been, he had to be from Levi and Zadok's line to come in and to be a priest. So it's very detailed when you start reading about it. And that he has brought you near to him, and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you. And would you seek the priesthood also? Therefore it is against the Lord that you and all your company have gathered together. So he's calling them out. I mean, it's just straightforward. You've gone against the Lord. What is Aaron that you grumble against him? I like the word that they use, grumble. Because they've done a lot of grumbling since they've left Egypt. Oh, you brought us out here to die. We would have been better off as slaves. What? No, you wouldn't. And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and they said, we will not come up. What? You're not going to come up when Moses calls you? Is it a small thing that you have brought us up out of the land flowing with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness, that you must also make yourself prince over us? Ooh, that's a dig. Because what was Moses in Egypt? He was a prince, right? That is a dig. You know, lots of times we read over that, we don't really get that, what they're saying, but yeah, it's a dig. You was a prince, and now you are shepherding us all, and now you going back to being a prince over us? Woo. Moreover, you have not brought us into a land flowing with milk and honey, nor given us the inheritance of the fields and the vineyards. Will you put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. So he gives reasons. He doesn't want to be lorded over. So let me tell you this. You know how we're taught, let's go back to talking about difficult people. You know, like when you're dealing with difficult people and they don't want nobody to tell them what to do. You know those people? They don't want nobody to tell them what to do. The people who don't want somebody to tell them what to do, most of the time they don't like it when God tells them what to do neither. You know, it's just the stubborn and the stiff-neck people. Can we relate to that? Lots of us don't like people telling us what to do. We don't. I mean, just be honest, we don't. But you have to have that teachable heart. Does this sound like they have the teachable heart?
Not yet.
Not yet, right? If they haven't learned God's in control by now. And Moses was very angry. He wasn't just angry, he was very angry. And said to the Lord, do not respect their offering. I have not taken one donkey from them. I have not harmed one of them. Now this is his conversation with the Lord. Like, I've not done anything wrong. I've not taken anything from him. I've not harmed him. And Moses said to Korah, be present, you and all your company, before the Lord, you and they and Aaron tomorrow. Well, we're going to figure this out. Y'all all show up. We're all going to show up. And let's just see what the Lord does. Wouldn't you like to do that in real life? All right, you show up, I'll show up, and we'll just see what the Lord does. And let every one of you take his censer and put incense on it, and every one of you bring before the Lord his censer. 250 censers, you also and Aaron, each his censer. So every man took his censer and put fire in them and laid incense on them and stood at the entrance of the tent of meeting with Moses and Aaron. So this is not a small group. This is a pretty big group. Then Korah assembled all the congregation against them. All right, what does that mean? They're not standing together. If they're against each other, I'm figuring they're facing each other. You know, me versus you. They stood against, where am I at? Then Korah assembled all the congregation against them at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord appeared to the congregation. Somebody better start trembling. The Lord showed up just like Moses said he would. And the Lord spake to Moses and to Aaron, saying, separate yourselves from among this congregation. This specific congregation. Separate yourselves. Now listen to this. That I may consume them in a moment. Consume them in a moment. Now, if the Lord is speaking to Moses, do you think everybody heard, or you think it was just Moses? I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm just wondering what y'all think.
Oh, just Moses.
You think just Moses?
Yeah. The others might run if they hear them.
That's what I was gonna say, I felt like they'd have fled. If
Do you
they-
think they're
Well,
being hard-hearted though? They would probably think God's not going to do that. I mean, they're not listening to him anyway, right?
Right?
That's true.
That's
So
what I think
when you're,
He said it out loud, maybe, but yeah, they didn't hear it. Or
They heard-
it, but
they
didn't
heard-
listen.
right.
Ooh, don't that resonate for today?
Absolutely.
We hear it, but what is that? There's a country song. I know you can hear me, but I'm not sure you're listening. Y'all remember that one? I think it's from the 90s.
Showing you age.
Right?
I didn't listen to Gunfree
And they fell on their faces and said, O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and will you be angry with all the congregation?
Okay, well, didn't they hear it then?
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. They fell on their faces pretty quick, didn't they? You think it's going to make a difference? And the Lord spake to Moses, saying, say to the congregation, get away from the dwelling of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Then Moses rose and went to Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spoke to the congregation, saying, depart, please, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest you be swept away with all their sins. When he wants you to be separated, that's how much he wants you to be separated. Don't even touch any of their stuff. Do you remember when they're going into the promised land and they're conquering and they can't take any of the spoils? And somebody sneaks in and they take the spoils at Ai, and what happens? It's bad. Just one person messing up.
Nobody else.
Right. God is serious when he tells these people these things. And it's serious for us today, too. He doesn't want us to be around wicked people. That's not what he wants. He doesn't want us to
He didn't
deal
want us
with-
to be wicked.
right,
Yeah,
to
well,
wicked
I was
things.
gonna say,
Wicked things have a tendency to rub off.
And they bring you down other than you trying to bring them up. It's very difficult.
Right? And it's not to say that we're better than anybody else. It's to say that I know I'm a sinner and I don't want to put myself in that situation. That is not judgment. And that's one thing that the world gets wrong. They want to say, oh, don't judge me, judge. They've got the definition wrong. That's not judgment. That's discernment. I'm not going to put myself in this situation. I'm not going to go to this place. I'm not going to let's just say hang out with this person. It doesn't mean don't be not nice to this person or respectful to this person. It just means you don't.
Just separate yourself.
Right. You're not like their best friend or something. You know what I'm saying. So that's discernment. Numbers 16:27. So they got away from the dwelling of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, and Dathan and Abiram came out and stood at their door of their tents, together with their wives, their sons, and their little ones. And Moses said, hereby you shall know that the Lord has sent me to do all these works, and that it has not been for my own accord. I didn't do this selfishly. I'm not trying to lord myself over you. I'm not the prince over you. If these men die as all men die, or as if or if they are visited by the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord creates something new, and the ground opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, they shall go down alive into Sheol, then you shall know that these men has despised the Lord. Okay? And as soon as he had finished speaking all these words, the ground under them split apart. The earth opened up its mouth and swallowed them up with their households and all the people who belonged to Korah and all of their goods. So they and all that belonged to them went down alive into Sheol, and the earth closed over them, and they perished from the midst of the assembly. Entire families, everything that they had, all swallowed up. Because remember, he told them, don't touch anything. If the ground had just swallowed the people up and the goods were left, what would have happened? People would have come and got it eventually. They'd have forgot what God said. You know how we are. So everything is swallowed up. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out in here is the use of the word Sheol, because a lot of us are not familiar with that word. So I brought my notes just to kind of go over it a little bit. I don't know if I'll get through this whole lesson. This might be one that's split in two. But the word Sheol is sometimes used for hell. There's several words that's used for hell in Scripture. So you have Hades, Gehenna, Sheol, Tartarus. We use words like paradise. Now, paradise had, it was only one side of, let me put it this way. When people in the Old Testament died, they went into Sheol, I guess you would say, and it was divided into two parts, like the hell side and the paradise side, or Abraham's bosom side. They can't even get into heaven until Jesus dies. All right? They're kind of like saved on credit, because only after Jesus dies does he come and he sets them free. They can go into heaven now. But it was still a paradise. And we know that from the story. Do you remember the story of Lazarus and the rich man? And he's in Abraham's bosom. You know, the rich man looks over and he can see, but there's a great chasm that's fixed. He cannot cross. But he can feel, he can see, he can hear, he can talk. He's parched on his tongue. He wants, Lazarus to dip his finger and touch his tongue. So even in this place of paradise and hell, this is, I would say this is a spiritual place, but you still have some kind of physical, what do you call it?
Just presence.
Yeah, right. You have your senses. You have your senses.
Is that where purgatory comes from?
Possibly.
Or in the Catholic Church?
It is.
Okay.
It is. But Catholicism was so much later. So I'm not sure.
If they gathered that. I don't know. I'm just curious.
I would say it's a possibility.
It sounds very similar.
It is. But like today, paradise side, it's empty. It's empty because when we die, we go straight to heaven or to hell. So the paradise side's empty. There's no need for it
Not today.
Right.
Back then. Yeah,
Right.
Christ.
Right. So just to kind of lay that out. Now, sometimes Sheol in the Old Testament is used as the grave, just the physical grave, the physical ground. In this place, what is it referring to? Is it referring to like hell, or is it referring to the ground?
Could be both.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking both, because it is the ground that literally swallows them up. But the words that we just read, where was it at? 33. Oops, sorry. Went down alive and closed over them, and they perished. We know that they had to die. You can't live underground, but they despised the Lord. That's what I was looking for. It's in one of those verses, right there. Despise the Lord. If you despise the Lord, do you think you're going to go into the paradise side? No. Now, here's another thing, and I did not get this when I was younger. Just let me be flat out honest. I'm raised in church, and we hear the word hell over and over. Now, when you read, through your Bible, it might be Sheol. I don't know what translations y'all use, and it might just say hell. When I think of hell, I think of fiery lakes of, of torture, all the words that describe hell. But I didn't realize that there's two separate things. There's hell, which is what we're talking about right here, the hell side of a Sheol or whatever you would want to call that. But there's also a lake of fire. The lake of fire in Revelation is the final punishment. So the people, let's just say, that are in hell now, we just consider everything hell. Eternal punishment is hell. But the people that are in hell now, they are going to go to that judgment. You remember in Revelation where it talks about the seat of Christ, the great white throne judgment. After that, they are tossed into the lake of fire. So it's two separate places. I didn't ever get that. I never got that. I just thought, well, hell's hell. All right, so there is two separate places. The lake of fire is the final punishment. There's no escape from the lake of fire. And if you read through Revelation, at the very end of the tribulation period, when you have the battle of Armageddon, there's two people that's still alive after that battle. One's the Antichrist, one's the false prophet. And the Bible says that both of them are thrown alive into the lake of fire. They don't die and go to hell that we're talking about this morning. They are going to just be tossed alive into the lake of fire.
And he didn't create the lake of fire for man. It was for the devil and his angels.
Right. That rebelled. That is correct. God doesn't want anybody to go to hell. That he does not. I mean,
a lot of people choosing it though.
You're right.
Right.
You're right.
Well, when you were talking about all the men, their wives and their children, when they did go down in the Sheol, whatever you say,
Sheol.
Could maybe some that wasn't like some of the women and children go over to the good side and the men get the bad side?
I don't know. If I answered, it would just be speculation.
Yeah, but it sounds like
I
it was their
just wonder.
families. It specifies that their families were standing there beside them.
Now,
Well, would that be the children though taking on the sins of the parents? Now the children are young, I'm assuming.
I don't know. Lots of times in ancient cultures, let me take you back to Babylon. If you cross Babylon, they wouldn't just kill you, they would kill your whole household. Because let's just say we take Courtney and we just kill her, what's going to happen to her family? Resentment's going to grow, towards the leadership that ordered that or whatnot. You're going to have a rebellion. After that happens so many times, you're going to band together with other people that this has happened to. So they would just kill the whole family.
I think that's also probably a teaching to show people what they need to understand, that it's not just them, that you can't just be like that. It's, you're supporting or protecting your whole family.
Mm-hmm.
But would the children not be held in the this side of paradise?
I don't know.
What if they were being taught that?
Even if they are, they're separated. As a
Right.
parent, what do you
Right.
want? You want to be with your kids. That would be torture enough in itself to know that you're eternally separated. So
That's before Christ too. So
Right, that's correct.
He might have gone when he went in hell and preached. He might have preached to them and saved them too.
I know.
When he did
Nobody
that.
would.
I know, we
When
don't
he went
know.
down.
Yeah, when he went down.
Okay,
But
I
you
have a
know-
side note. Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say Sheol in the NIV says the realm of the dead.
the realm of the dead.
Yeah, it's referred to as the realm of the dead.
Gotcha.
That's just a side note.
But that is why we have so many fightings today, is because God did tell them in the Old Testament to kill the whole families, and they didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The Italians do that too.
You got him over in the
Did it?
car. It makes me want to pop some gum.
What?
She's my daughter.
All right. So, and all of Israel who were around them fled at their cry. They didn't go down peacefully. They cried as they were, covered up.
I wonder what was coming.
For they said, lest the earth swallow us up. Hey, it might swallow us up too. Let's get out of here.
But
Now-
again, they still are just dumb, because they just said to separate yourself and you would be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's.
But you would be scared too if you saw that. You'd probably still
After all
run.
this, I don't know, I think even my hard head would understand after everything that they've been through.
Yeah, but I'd still be screaming.
But let me
'cause
take you
I'd
to-
scream.
Let me take you to Revelation. Because when you have the 7 trumpets, the 7 vials, the 7
It's like, how many
seals,
times I gotta tell you?
even after all of those, people shake their fist at God, and it says they still will not repent. So even after seeing all that, even seeing it in the Bible and seeing it come to pass, they're still not going to turn.
That's even today. We don't have to wait till the end of time.
Yeah.
We're the same way. I've mentioned it a million times. We give the Israelites a hard time, but we're just like them.
Yeah.
So
It's in there for a reason,
we're
for
hard-hearted.
us to learn.
Hard-headed.
Yeah.
Evil.
And fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men offering the incense. Woo!
Who told them to offer the incense?
Moses did.
God didn't like it.
This was the part where he was calling them out in the beginning. You remember he said, "Get your incense, get your 250, censers, and put them out, and we'll see who the Lord chooses tomorrow."
Oh, so
So-
that was their offering.
Yeah.
So he was saying that he didn't. Okay.
Yep. You're not chosen, right? Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Tell Eleazar the son of Aaron, the priest, to take up the censers out of the blaze.
Huh?
Yeah. That's it. Lots of times we just read over that. Take them out of the blaze. If I'm Eleazar, I'm going to be like, do I have to?
Reach my hand.
Do I have to? Then scatter the fire far and wide, for they have become holy. Is it holy because God's fire touched them? Just a question. As for the censers of these men who have sinned at the cost of their lives, let them be made into hammered plates as a covering for the altar. So because, I guess, God's fire purified these, they can be used for coverings to the altar.
Wonder where those are today.
Right?
Right. For they offered them before the Lord, and they became holy. Thus they shall be a sign to the people of Israel. So Eleazar the priest took the bronze censers, which those who burned had offered, and they were hammered out as covering for the altar, to be a reminder to the people of Israel, so that no outsider who is not of the descendants of Aaron should draw near to burn incense before the Lord, lest he become like Korah and his company, as the Lord said to him through Moses. Talk about a lesson. Yeesh. But on the next day, all the congregation of the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron, saying, "You have killed the people of the Lord." I'm sorry. Moses did not do that. Moses didn't do it, did he? Who did that? It was God. They're just blaming somebody else.
That's because he was close by. That's
Right.
all.
They don't give
Bless him, poor Moses.
I know.
I'd been to give up on that. If I was Moses, I'd said bye.
I'm going to the promised land without y'all.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
When the
He
con-
didn't even go in the promised land.
right after he had put up with all this.
I know.
And when the congregation had assembled against Moses and against Aaron, they turned towards the tent of meeting. Haven't they learned already? And behold, the cloud covered it, and the glory of God appeared again. Be like running, y'all. And Moses and Aaron came to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Get away from the midst of the congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." Here we go again. And they fell on their faces. And Moses said to Aaron, "Take your censer and put fire in it from off the altar, and lay incense on it, and carry it quickly to the congregation, and make atonement for them. For wrath has gone out from the Lord, the plague has begun." I don't ever see this in a movie, do we? Woo! So Aaron took it, as Moses said, and ran into the midst of the assembly, and behold, the plague had already begun. It doesn't tell us what that plague is, but something's happening. The plague had already begun among the people, and he put on the incense and made atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague stopped. Do y'all remember this? Reading this before?
So basically, because he went in,
Took the fire from the altar, put it in a censer, put incense on it. He's making atonement. And there's a dividing line between the dead and the living. So again, something supernatural. How can you stop a plague right in the middle of something? Apparently it happened fast. If people were already dying. All right. Now those who died in the plague were 14,700.
that was a big tent.
Y'all were thinking like 10. I mean, like, how long did it take you to get the?
I was thinking like
The
200,
censoring one.
but
Yeah.
Is that where they found their bodies later on? Keith talked about that on a Wednesday night, about how that they had found bodies.
Was that?
I don't know if this is the same.
It might have been the graveyard that's near the bottom of Mount Horeb,
Yeah, that's it.
right after the golden calf, because there
That's
were
it.
3,000.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a lot of people, remember, there's a lot of Israelites.
Yeah, there's
Like,
over
there were
2
2
million.
that
Yeah,
come out,
so
and I'm
this
sure
would've
there
been
were
a
more
very-
by then, wouldn't you think?
Probably.
With them having children, of course, people would die as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was those
So-
families. Then it was 250. Now we're up to 14,700.
12 tribes to
I mean,
remember.
God's trying to get their attention.
So,
I say.
Like, listen to me here. And it says, and Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tent of meeting when the plague was stopped. Now we're going to skip. So this is 16, then it skips, and we're going into Numbers 26, verse 9. The sons of Eliab, Nemuel, Dathan, and Abiram. These are the Dathan and Abiram chosen from the congregation who contended against Moses and Aaron in the company of Korah when they contended against the Lord. And the earth opened up its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korah when that company died. When the fire devoured 250 men, they became a warning. But the sons of Korah did not die. Now we're going to skip again.
Oh, wait a minute. So that may say that the rest of the families perished, but the sons did not.
Mm-hmm. Well, the sons of Korah. The other sons, it doesn't
Right.
give that distinction.
But it says specifically that they did not die. So
The sons of Korah did not die. Yeah. Right?
I want to see how it's going to get in heaven. Lord, explain it.
Right? And it's kind of a little hard to follow.
When we get there.
So it says, from Mount Hor, they set out by the way to the Red Sea to go around the land of Edom, and the people became impatient.
Shocker.
Right?
Spoiler alert. Not.
And the people spoke against Moses and against against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? How many times y'all gonna say that?
How many times have they said that?
For there is no food nor water, and we loathe this worthless food.
Lord, help. I'm so surprised Moses did not just literally walk away.
And
I'm like you. I know
he's
what-
80 by now.
Yeah.
You know, like he's
I know
80.
what deuces the other.
And
Right.
God gave him the opportunity to. I'll kill him and give you a whole new set of people, but he turned it
Right.
down.
Right. Then the Lord sent fiery serpents. Not just serpents,
Let's light him on fire.
fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, so that many people of Israel died.
Oh, that's one way.
Y'all, has any of y'all ever been snake bit?
No.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Have
That's
you?
one of my
Yeah.
worst
You?
things.
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No.
I mean, it was a non-venomous snake, but it still didn't feel good. I mean,
I just can't even. I would just die of a heart attack if that happened.
but
So
it's one thing to have venom, or you know, like in a
Not
snake.
on purpose.
But when I went to the doctor, one of the things they told me that a snake has so much bacteria in the mouth that when they bite you, it could get infected really, really quickly. Yeah. So I'm thinking fiery serpents and so many dying is probably venomous. You know, not just non-venomous for this to happen. So many people of Israel died like they hadn't already had so many that died. And the people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned.
You think?
We have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord that he take away the serpents from us." So Moses prayed for the people. And the Lord said to
Moses
Moses,
is a good man. I'm like, no,
We'll have to meet him.
yeah.
right? Make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and everyone who is bitten when he sees it shall live. Now, let me explain this. This is not like, let's just take this on the wall. If I'm bit by a snake, and let's just say that's the serpent around the pole, the looking's not like this. When you go back and you study the word, it is an intent looking. It's almost like a stare, like meditation
Yes.
of a stare on something. All right? This is one of those things that correspond to the cross. Think of Jesus on the cross. We can't just give it a passing look. To understand what Jesus did on the cross, we have to intently look upon it to see the meaning behind it. So Moses made the bronze serpent and set it on a pole, and if the serpent bit anyone, he would look at the bronze serpent and live. So this come with a thing of obedience, didn't it? You had to do something to live, right? So these stubborn people, they had to let go of their pride. Can't do it your way. You have to do it God's way. And it goes through some questions. I'm not going to go through all those, but that's the end. I made it to the end of this one.
Isn't that the way that Keith preaches on this a good bit when he talks about how we don't need the Lord until we need the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's exactly,
These people were the same way.
yeah,
Yeah.
this has
It
been
was
going
all,
on for,
and then something happened, and be like, whoa.
Well, we think we don't need the Lord
right.
until we need him. We need him every moment.
What if we lived every moment like that?
It gets exhausting. And I think I just feel like so many people run to the Lord. If everything's going good,
Yeah.
you don't do anything, you don't pray, but then when things get bad, that's when you really start to pray and come back to Him. And those things could be coincidence, but I don't think they are. I think they're set there for us to be able to continue for that.